You look at the empty screen of your phone and still wait for a sign from outside? Often, the next step is already in front of you, but it is obscured by the noise of thoughts and the fear of making a mistake. It will become clear later why the answer does not need to be sought further within yourself. You haven't lost direction. You're just waiting too long for someone or something to take the responsibility for the choice off you. And in that moment, it seems like you need another hint, another confirmation, another day when everything will become clearer. But the truth is that clarity rarely comes as a loud signal. More often, it already lies in what you've known for a long time, but have not dared to accept. That is why it is so easy to get stuck between dreaming and acting. A person sees the goal, feels that it is important, can almost name the next step, but still hesitates. Not because the path is closed, but because there is a habit of devaluing one's own knowledge. We start looking outside, waiting for the perfect moment, convenient conditions, someone else's approval, and in that moment, we lose contact with what is already in our hands. In these minutes, you will see how this internal blockage is actually organized. Without beautiful promises, it will become clear why you do not move, not because of a lack of answers, but because of a refusal to use the answers that have already been received. And when this becomes visible, the next step stops being a fog. It is especially easy to live in a state of waiting right now, because there is too much noise around. The feed suggests that you should be faster, smarter, more successful, calmer, and more collected all at once, while inside, it only leads to more distraction. In such an environment, it seems that without new advice or external confirmation, nothing will move. But this is where the main mistake lies. You start to confuse the amount of information with clarity, even though an overloaded mind almost never sees what it already knows. This topic is particularly important now because fatigue has long become not only physical, but also internal. People wake up feeling that the day has started too early, and by evening they have not strength, but a habit of postponing life for later. And the more digital noise there is, the easier it is to lose trust in oneself. We get used to looking for answers and endless prompts, but forget that confidence is born not from excess information, but from honest contact with what is already clear inside. During these minutes, you will not hear abstract calls to simply believe in yourself. Instead, we will analyze why this scenario holds a person so tightly, how it subtly diverts from making decisions, and why the expectation of a bit more information only prolongs the stagnation. Then there will be a practical part, where everything will come down to a very simple return to the present moment, and in the end, it will become clear how to move from internal tension to real action, without strain and without unnecessary dramatization. There is one more important point that is rarely stated directly. When a person constantly lives with thoughts of the future, they lose not only energy, but also the ability to notice what is already available now. It is often in the present that the resource is hidden, which is so lacking for moving forward. Not in perfect conditions and not in a distant version of life, but in the current day, in already available opportunities, in what can be done without waiting for permission. This is where the analysis will begin, because until you learn to rely on the present, the future will seem too distant, even if it is just a decision away. Most often, a person gets stuck not because of a lack of answers, but because they found one too early and did not believe in themselves. A brief thought arises, the body recognizes it, but the mind immediately demands another confirmation. Shoulders rise, jaw clenches, gaze fixes on the screen, and at that moment it seems as if the solution must come from outside. Thus, a trap is born, where clarity is confused with permission. You already know what to do, but you wait for a feeling of complete readiness, which does not come precisely because the action is postponed. It's like a person standing in front of an open door and still checking if it's locked. The door is not closed, but the habit of doubt is stronger than the fact. The same goes for thoughts about the future. We start to think that the next step should look big, special, almost ceremonial, and therefore we do not notice the simple movement that is already possible today. But life rarely provides an ideal start. More often, it offers an ordinary situation where you need to respond to an email, make a call, acknowledge your desire, clear away the excess, say an honest no. And this is what causes resistance, because a small action shatters the comfortable legend that you are still not ready. Here lies the main mistake. A person takes internal tension as a signal to stop, even though it is just a reaction to stepping out of the familiar role. The brain loves the promise of control, and action brings back uncertainty, and then the old defenses kick in. There is a desire to endlessly think, gather opinions, postpone until a clearer day. But clarity does not come from waiting. It appears when you start using what you already have in hand, even if it looks modest for now. The micro model here is simple. It sounds like the rule of 1 point. If you do not see the whole route, find one item, one responsibility, one honest gesture that can be executed without negotiations with yourself. It is particularly evident with a leader who is used to solving everything on their own. They can analyze for hours why the team is stalled, and fail to notice that they themselves have not given people space for decision-making. A student has a similar story when they wait for motivation for a big project, although it's not the project that halts them, but the fear of producing the first weak draft. In both cases, the problem is not a lack of knowledge. The problem is that knowledge remains in the head and does not translate into action. And while it's there, a person feels a heaviness in their chest and a strange fatigue, as if they have already lived through a day that has yet to happen. You need to see one more thing that is usually overlooked. The anticipation of the future often masquerades as hope, although in reality, it is a way to avoid confronting reality right now. Hope opens movement, while expectation merely keeps you in place. You can honestly admit that you do not know all the consequences and still choose a step, because the question has never been about full knowledge. It has always been about the readiness to stop demanding guarantees from life where it does not provide them. When this understanding penetrates deeper than the head, hands no longer want to remain crossed. A calmer tone emerges, and the next step ceases to feel like an exam. It becomes an action that brings you back to yourself. Take exactly 1 minute now and do not try to solve your entire life in that time. Grab the nearest piece of paper or a note on your phone and write down just one honest answer to the question, what do I already know but am putting off? Don't explain it, don't embellish it, don't argue with yourself. After 60 seconds, it usually becomes apparent that the fog is not in the world, but in the habit of not acknowledging the obvious. Your hand stops flailing, your breath becomes steadier, and your thoughts finally latch onto specifics rather than anxiety. This works because people most often wait not for information, but for permission. In real life, it looks like you are sitting in front of a task, already understand where to start, but still scrolling through other people's opinions, postponing the conversation, holding on to the format of later. Try to translate this into an action that doesn't require the perfect state. If you need to write a message, open a draft and type one phrase. If you need to make a decision, formulate it in one sentence without excuses. The main thing here is not the volume, but the fact of transitioning from waiting to contact with reality. How to incorporate this into the chaos becomes clear on a regular workday when there is noise all around, messages come one after another, and your head is already overwhelmed. In that moment, you can subtly lower your gaze at the screen for 60 seconds, relax your jaw, feel your feet in your shoes, and ask yourself what can already be done today without additional approval. No one around will notice that something has shifted inside, but your body will understand it immediately. The extra tension in your shoulders disappears, your gaze focuses, and instead of an internal argument, a brief feeling of support arises. And it is precisely from such a point that it becomes easier to return to the task and do what you've been putting off all this time. If today you don't have the strength for a big leap, don't look for a beautiful start. Take one clear answer, one phrase, one small gesture, and let it happen without negotiations with yourself. This is the transition from waiting to living. The most important thing in this topic is not that you will eventually have a complete set of answers. The most important thing is that life rarely demands complete certainty from a person, but almost always requires honesty with what is already clear. When you stop waiting for perfect external confirmation, the tension doesn't instantly disappear, but it stops controlling every decision. Another thing becomes noticeable only after action. What seemed like a big unknown often turns out to be an ordinary entry point, simply postponed for too long. It is not the future version of you that should give permission, but the you of today must stop refusing what you already see. And it is in this that the quality of the day changes. It no longer blurs in waiting but gathers into a concrete choice. Tomorrow morning will not start with a loud sign, but with your attitude towards the first available movement. And if you ever catch yourself thinking that the answer was already close, it means you have finally stopped looking for it in the noise. If this video was helpful to you, subscribe so you don't miss the next day.